Hello, I'm Nexus 846 Productions, and welcome to a review of Golden Disk Tigatron? This is an orange repaint of the Kingdom Tigatron figure. But with repaints, Hasbro typically does other characters. It's been a while since an actual character has received two toys, just with different paint schemes depicting different points of time which they're in, or an alternate universe self, I guess. Barring shattered glass, of course. So, yeah, it's a bit weird. This is based on the original box art for the original Tigatron toy, which was originally colored orange. So I guess that's kind of where it comes from. Getting to the toy itself, the painting and sculpting on this beast mode is amazing! The fur texturing is awesome, and the paint apps add just enough spice to keep it from looking overly bland, though there are spaces where something should have been added in order to keep some contrast, but as is, I'm happy with it. For instance of what I mean, behind the front legs, the front four legs, the neck, and then the thighs of the robot mode are all unpainted, which I feel could have used something just to keep it, because right now that is just bland orange. And on the back here, there is, of course, Robot Kibble. This is a Beast Wars character. Robot Kibble is pretty much always going to be on there at some point. It just depends on how much is there. And here, there's barely anything. The Masterpiece Cheetor has more kibble than this. So, frankly, this is very impressive to me. Considering the original Chonky Cat here had, the entire legs exposed in beast mode, we really have seen improvement in engineering over the years. It's just a shame that people deny this in favor of accuracy. Well, no, they're robots in disguise. And especially in beast mode, for Beast Wars characters, having the entire robot covered by their beast mode is pretty important, because that was a plot point in the original series, at least for Season 1. Here we can also see the vast improvement of sculpting and engineering over the years. The new Tigatron figure actually looks like a tiger, whereas the original was just a repaint of Cheetor, who wasn't, in the first place, all that convincing of a cheetah. One thing I have seen people complaining about is the lack of proper gun storage on the new Tigatron figure, and, yeah, no, I'll take the entire mode looking better over being able to fit the gun in. I don't get complaints like this. When I animate, I typically set the accessories to the side, because I typically store my figures in robot mode, and I know they're more than just the vehicle. Don't get me wrong, I really like it when the guns are stored, but I don't hate it when they're not. Though if you really are a stickler for weapon storage, there is a port on the bottom, and frankly it's equally as convincing on both figures. Because both of them still end up with a gun barrel hanging out under their head. It's just one looks more like a tiger while having that, though. But to give credit to the original figure, the tiger striping is all over the body, which does leave it from feeling plain. So I guess, you know, G1 forever! Now, being a upscaled engineering of the Kingdom Cheetor figure, here is a comparison with Shadow Panther. Well, not Shadow. Yes, Shadow Panther. Much of the transformation works in the same way, but since Tigatron is a Voyager, he can afford to have some engineering improvements over the figure. So, wait a minute. Hasbro upscaled a Deluxe to a Voyager and made improvements to the engineering? This is unheard of! What? Now, I know you can't see air quotes because I'm a voice recording suspended in indefinite digital space, But both on both figures, the tail comes off to form an accessory, and that's where I would have used the air quotes. Since they're both on 5mm pegs, you can swap the tails with each other. I don't know why you would do that, though. Articulation on this mode for a beast transformer is pretty good. The only thing really offensively missing is some kind of head movement. I understand it more on this figure than the Cheetor, but I still feel like at this point in time we should get some better head movement on figures. But otherwise, the posing is pretty good. It makes animating it walking pretty easy. It's just I don't know how to animate animals walking. Sorry. He can get into a proper peeing on your stuff pose, though. Now, you've already seen with the other two deluxes that this isn't all that big of a Voyager. He does manage to compact down pretty interestingly, because the Cheetor mold felt like it got bigger when it transformed. There's something about him that makes me feel like he belongs with Kingdom Grimlock, though. Interesting. Here he is with Airraiser, who herself compacts down to form a pretty small bundle, but they end up the same height, interestingly enough. And then here, just he is with all the other cool transforming cats. Tigatron, Panther, Ravage. And yeah, it is interesting to see how all of these are the same general size, despite varying robot mode heights. It's interesting. Before we get to robot mode, I do have one last thing to actually legitimately complain about. Now, the original Beast Wars was bad for having a lot of parts forming, but with Beast Wars, the parts forming typically led to, weaponry. So the tail here just comes off, and you're kind of supposed to set it to the side. Now, there is a way to keep it on. You can rotate it up, and that will get it all the way out of the way that it needs to be in order to transform it. It's just annoying. Tigatron, terrorize! Transformation on this thing is so much fun. It transforms into an actual object, and the transformation is interesting and fun. Oh, I miss this. And this robot mode is awesome. It's accurate to the show, while also taking in influences from the original toy design. And the head sculpt is so freaky and menacing, and oh, I love it. There isn't even a huge amount of gaps on the back. I mean, well, there's some in the shins, but otherwise, this thing's filled out and there's minimal kibble, and the kibble that's there is accurate, and what is so hard about getting Voyagers like this? Anyways, now Tigatron does have his typical blaster. Once again, incredibly screen faithful, with the detailing and such, but crisper lines, and when there's something that's supposed to look like a circle, it looks like a circle. Yeah, they did that. But the painting, however, leaves something to be desired. The guts are picked out in pink, and that's it. Otherwise, it's a solid orange chunk. Plus, now I'm going to say something that's going to be considered complete heresy amongst Beast Wars fans, but I feel like they should have integrated the technical detail with the organic detail a bit better. Now, I know that sounds bad, but on the original Tigatron gun, the guts had a lot more H.R. Giger-like detailing to them, and yeah, I feel like that kind of looks cooler. For his other weapon, he has his tail. Okay, So, in the history of Transformers, there's a long running thing where a beast mode character just has their tail as a weapon. But typically, there's an attempt to make the tail look or function like a weapon, even when it's a BDSM tail whip. This, though, this is just the tail. The deluxe version had this blade on the end, and I really don't see why this version couldn't. Again, going back to the original, the tail turned into a gun. So, I don't get it. Being a Voyager that takes 90% of its engineering from another figure, I really think they should have done better than this. And then, there's a flight stand port on it? So you can make it look like Tigatron is throwing his soft, plushy tail as a weapon at someone? You're kidding, right? Otherwise, there's been this hack going around where you can store the tail on his body. And I mean, okay, this looks terrible. I guess if you have figures standing in front of him on a shelf, you won't notice it, but if you're gonna go through this effort, then just leave it plugged in where it was in alt mode. Here we've got OG Tigatron for some comparisons. The chest on the new Tigatron figure sticks out a lot more forward, homaging the original one, but unlike the original one, it doesn't completely look proportionally disastrous. The back also cleans up much nicer. And then for comparison with the Cheetor mode, here's Shadow Panther, and I don't remember Tigatron being this huge in the show. Apparently it's show accurate, but like he was only a head taller than Cheetor typically when they were in the same scene. I don't get it. If this was a Tigatron, this wouldn't fit for me. I'm sorry. But being the niche alternate version, repainted into a bad guy version, well, they look very good together. The posability on both these figures is fantastic, and the size difference makes them dynamic as a duo. Holy cow, Batman! No, but seriously, the same head sculpts, homaging the mutant masks, unifies them, yet the colors are different, yet make them, again, look so dynamic. I love this. But, again, I feel like Cheetor and Tigatron should be closer to the same height, if not exactly. Here he is with Grimlock again, and I just don't know why, but these two fit so well together. Like, I imagine them as mortal enemies. And I don't typically like when the good guy's taller than the bad guy, but it's Grimlock. He's a really big dude, and I can't help overlook it, and just it's strange to me. Like, Grimlock was an actual toy. This is based off box art for an alternate color scheme for another good guy figure. It's weird. And then you add in both these figures' accessories and excellent posability, and oh my god, I'm in love. Here he is with Air Razor, and okay, yeah, that looks right. And here's Ravage again. You know, just because it's another cat. To reiterate again on this guy, the posing is very good. I know Perspective End has complained that there's some limited joint mobility, but I don't know. I'm not experiencing this joint mobility. I think that's a matter of quality issue, maybe? I'm not sure. It's been a while since I've had a figure hit that pose. So, Tigatron. Ultimately, I feel he is a pretty good figure. It's just averagely good, though. Not figure of the year. Like,
like this thing exists. And you know, there was also Cyclonus, who's does like Cyclonus. He like the few things that I complained about Tigatron here, Cyclonus just flat out doesn't have. And then Megatron just goes flat out above and beyond. Like you're kidding me? This beat out Megatron?